Today, we're reviewing a new zombie horror movie called ZombieCon Vol.1. Is this a fun new take on the zombie genre, or something we've seen before? Let's discuss this and more on the Late Night Movie Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 44th episode of the Late Night Movie Podcast, your place for movie reviews, hot takes, and quiz shows. I'm your host, Welchy, and joining me tonight are Mr. Pop Figures himself, Andy.
Hello guys, pleasure to be back. I don't remember the last time I watched a zombie film, but excited to talk about this one.
And our resident horror expert, Stephen.
Yes, hello guys. It's great to be back and really excited to be talking about this movie. It's going to be a good one.
It is. Obviously, we've got a lot of exciting things happening tonight on recording that, but we're going to go through that in a minute. We need to jump straight into this because of the exciting thing that's about to happen, so let's quickly go into it. As mentioned in the cold open, we are reviewing ZombieCon Vol.1. But before we do that, let's do some quick housekeeping. Of course, this is the Late Night Movie Podcast. We drop 2 episodes every week, typically on a Tuesday and a Thursday, although this week it will be Wednesday and a Friday. If you enjoy the podcast, please do consider following or subscribing on your favorite podcast service, and also leave a rating, as that really helps support the podcast a lot. You can follow us on all major socials with the handle @TheLNGPod, and you can join our Discord using the link in the podcast description if you want to chat movies, TV shows, and video games. If you're listening or watching on Spotify, you can also leave comments there for us comments for there too. And of course, the podcast is now available on YouTube if that is your platform of choice. Our content schedule for the week beginning 6th of October looks like this. On Tuesday, you had our Ghost of Yote early review on the gaming podcast. Wednesday is this episode, the ZombieCon Vol.1 review. Thursday is my Black Ops 7 thoughts and Jack's Borderlands 4 review. And then on Friday, we have a very special episode, which we're about to record after this, and that is our interview with the director and producer of ZombieCon Vol.1. So definitely look out for that one. It's going to be a great, fun episode, which we're very excited to do. And in terms of Twitch streams, I should be streaming definitely Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week with Ghost of Yote. Potentially Wednesday as well, that's TBC, but definitely Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Finally, we are sponsored by Dubby Energy Drinks. If you want an energy drink for your long gaming session, then you can get a 10% discount on Dubby products by using the code TheLNGPod at checkout. That's TheLNGPod for a 10% discount. Okay, so let's get straight into it. Our review of ZombieCon Vol.1. So I should add a massive thank you to the director and producer of ZombieCon Vol.1, who reached out and gave us the opportunity to watch this as a, what's the word? Like a
Advanced screening?
An advanced screening. It's already
Yeah,
out, but it's a special screening to be able to watch this and review this. And obviously, we have the opportunity to interview them as well. Before we go into a review, I don't have as many stats and figures as previous films that we've reviewed because this is an indie film. It's still relatively new, and the budget on this will be minuscule because it is an indie film.
Yeah.
But
Potentially some of this information we'll find out
in the interview
after our next month. Yeah.
But I do want to quickly go through the Letterboxd. So the description on Letterboxd reads as this: a group of cosplaying friends trigger a zombie apocalypse and are forced to traverse zombie-infected Los Angeles to save their loved one. It's directed by Kyle Val. I hope I'm saying his name right. We'll find out soon when we do the interview. He's obviously coming onto the podcast, which is very exciting. Cast has Erin Ain. Important to mention that one because she is also producer and she is also on the interview. So we're not only interviewing the producer, but also one of the actresses on the film, from the film. Punky Johnson, who, funny enough, Andy and Stephen, of both of you, Punky Johnson plays Punky. She has the same name in film and in real life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay.
Christian Casillas and Carlo Mendez and a bunch of other people. Again, indie film, a lot of much lesser known actors, but we'll get into their performances soon. Runtime of 110 minutes. There's not an official Letterboxd score yet. They need a few more reviews for that to happen, but there is a score on IMDb, 7.6 out of 10, which I think is very solid.
Oh,
very
definitely.
solid.
Very
And
respectful.
that's from 52 reviews so far. I don't know how many reviews IMDb needs to be able to give a score. I can't find where I'd find how many reviews it's had either, but looking at it, there's a lot of fours, a lot of 3.5s, quite a few fives here as well. So actually, that might be okay. It's sorted by rating. That's why I'm starting from 5.
Yeah.
Anyway, you get the gist. So yeah, we got the opportunity to watch this. Again, thank you to Erin and Kyle for the opportunity. And we watched this in different times. I watched this last week. Andy, you watched part of it last week, but the majority tonight.
Yeah. So I watched 45 minutes before we went away to Haven, and then obviously the rest today, on our sort of my return. Ideally, I usually would have watched it all in one go, but we've chose the one weekend where I've sort of had quite a
Yeah.
lot of plans, so sort of fit it in where I could. But yeah, the what last hour of it is fresh in my mind, obviously from tonight.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Stephen, you watched it all tonight.
Yeah, my plan was to try and watch it before David, just didn't get around to it, but just literally finished work today and then watched it from start to finish. So it is nice and fresh in my mind as well.
So obviously this film is set in Los Angeles, and the concept being a group of friends who like to go to conventions, Comic Cons. They attend a Comic Con. I don't want to spoil things, but basically events happen and a zombie outbreak occurs. I don't want to spoil that because that's a interesting thing they do. I don't know if we're going to have time for spoilers today. It might just be just a review. We'll see how much time we have. Um, and then kind of probably around the 45-minute mark, Andy. I can't remember exactly. Maybe slightly earlier than that. Hell breaks loose. Shit goes crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it then becomes not your typical zombie film, but a typical survival film. There's a group of
Yeah.
friends surviving a zombie onslaught. The big twist
It's-
here is more how that all starts rather than
Yeah.
the zombies themselves. Personally, I was quite pleased to see these were fast zombies straight away.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's one of my questions for them in the interview is like, was that always the case? Was you always going fast? Did you consider them more Walking Dead type? We'll find out what they say later on. But personally, I find it just more intense and more interesting when they're faster, more realistic, but more human-like because they're just acting
Yeah.
more like humans.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to know, did they go down the influence of like 28 Days
Yeah.
Later, Resident Evil, on what stopped them from doing the conventional, like, not Dawn of the Dead, but like zombies before
slower,
that point
yeah.
that were like really, really slow. I always think it's interesting that you've watched it in 2 parts and you've split it right at the moment of the
Yeah.
2 different areas of the movie. I know obviously you didn't mean to do that, but that when you were saying that, I was like, oh, that's very, very interesting.
Yeah, worked out well.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll all go into our separate thoughts. I think we can kind of bounce off each other rather than just do one individual thought.
Yeah.
One of the things that I wrote down here and I particularly found interesting is that straight away, and a lot of films we've reviewed recently, there's been a criticism that I've had, and this film did the opposite, where they actually found a way for me to relate to the characters pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Which, again, like I said, a lot of films recently, I've struggled to relate to the characters, and that's why I don't care for them as much, or I'd give a lower score. So I'm looking down more than normal because my phone needs to charge. But basically, the way they did that for me was obviously they did the Comic Con show, which was fine. That wasn't the bit that made me like them, but it goes straight into the scene after that. Although I did like the Comic Con scene, I liked the Comic Con scene when they played the trick on the other team.
Yeah. With
That
the
bit I
dark
was like,
bit.
okay, that's cool, and that shows some personality with the team. That shows some cleverness and
Yeah.
like tactile thinking. But then it was a scene after that when they go in the shop, and I think a lot of people who go to Comic Cons or just like nerdy things like we
Oh
do
yeah. I know what you're going to
can
say now.
straight
Yeah.
away relate to people coming into the shop and essentially bullying them.
Yeah.
And it was almost like this instant, like, oh man, I know those kind of people. I don't like those kind of people, so I'm already on your side. And it was
Yeah.
such
Yeah.
a good way to make me care for those characters straight away.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
like I'm guessing you
Um,
thought the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to sort of like compare it to every other zombie
No.
movie, but like the one that kind of played into my mind was when I watched Zombieland for the first time. The main protagonist, I could relate to very quickly because he was that, nerdy sort of guy that just sits and plays video games, and it took a zombie apocalypse for him to become really cool.
Mhm.
In the same sort of way that I could relate to that group of being someone that loves going to Comic Con conventions and being a nerd. I think it's cool now to be a nerd, so I don't care about being labelled as one. But yeah, I could instantly relate to that, which you don't often always get in these type of movies. It's normally sort of an alpha sort of butch man that can take zombies left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
And I like that the movie put that on its head and showed a group of people getting inner strength throughout the course of the movie. So I thought that was very well done.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page as both of you. I felt like I related to the characters instantly from the very get-go. I think the opening scene is them sort of making their outfits and talking about cosplay and stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously, as someone who has gone to a Comic Con for the last sort of 5 years or so, at least sort of 2 per year, it was quite cool seeing them talk about cosplaying in the film, because I don't think I've ever, from memory, I don't remember there being, other than things like it popping up in the Big Bang Theory, things like Comic Con.
And Paul as well, the Simon Pegg Nick Frost film. At the beginning, I go to a convention, but you're right, you don't tend to see it pop up a lot.
Yeah, and obviously one more recently, Invincible. There's an episode in that where Comic-Con. So as soon as I saw that Invincible in Invincible, I was like, oh, that's so cool! Like they're going to a Comic-Con, and that's something like I enjoy. So when in this film they start off by talking about cosplay and making their outfits for Comic-Con, and then go to the Comic-Con and do essentially what would be one of the competitions at Comic-Con, I sort straight away relate. Even though I don't do those competitions, and I have cosplayed, but I haven't made my own outfits. It was just really cool seeing that on screen, and that it would be interesting to find out sort of where they got that inspiration to do that, for sort of merging a ZombieCon film with a sort of Comic-Con element. So I related straight away from that part. But yeah, also what you were saying with that encounter in the shop is sort of the typical. The reason that so many people love Comic-Con is because they feel like they can be themselves.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they've stepped out of that environment and they've been in a normal environment, and sort of not other people come in and see sort of judging them straight away for what they're wearing, I feel like it is a real, or at least used to be quite a main theme, those sort of situations. Hopefully it's died down a bit over the years, with sort of Comic-Con being more accepted and things like that being more accepted by the whole society. But yeah, it was interesting to see that straight away.
I think you're
and
right.
also because
go on, Stephen.
No, it's all right. I was just going to say that because I didn't do any sort of research into the movie at all. I wanted to watch it completely blind, and obviously I knew that there were zombies in it, but that's kind of all I knew. And the fact that it is a literal mixture of Comic Cons or conventions and zombie, hence why it's called ZombieCon, which you think that's quite a easy title to put together, but actually that's a really clever way of incorporating so many different aspects. But essentially the movie is Comic Con zombies come together, and this is what you get. So I really enjoyed that. I didn't anticipate that as well, so that was a nice surprise for me in sort of the early stages of the movie, thinking, oh, it's Comic Con. I mean, it made me realize how much I'm going to miss not coming to MCM, but that's just on me before anybody else.
I think it's also a really good idea and a fun way and a smart way to get weapons included, because sometimes in these films weapons can be added and you're like, how the fuck have you got that? In this one it's like, it makes perfect sense. You're all in these Comic-Con things, you've got these swords because this is the life you love, like you collect these things, and there was not a moment where I was like, that's not, obviously don't get me wrong, zombies are naturally unrealistic, but what I'm saying is like the things they were using to take these zombies down and the weapons they had at their disposal was completely believable, because this is exactly what they do for their Comic-Cons. I think for me, the Comic-Con thing was basically just the intro, though. I wouldn't say, I kind of went into this thinking that the zombie outbreak was going to happen at a convention.
That's what I thought.
So okay.
I'm
not going to say I'm like dinging it for it, but the impression I got, and I think the title gives it away, hints at it, is that it's going to be a zombie apocalypse or zombie outbreak from the convention, and they're trying to escape the convention or something like that. So it was slightly different to what I expected, and I think that would still be an interesting take for someone to do. And you could have a lot of fun ways of doing that, because you could have a zombie in like a, I don't know, a what you call him, the Terrifier guy out of the clown suit, like
Oh, the clown.
then as a zombie
Yeah.
as well.
Uh,
Yeah,
There's a lots of fun things you could do with that, and
and
that's the route I thought this film was going.
because you've also got so many people, and you've only got to get like people not being able to escape sort of the main stage.
Yeah.
There is lots of sort of like ideas relating to that.
So
But
when they
I
were doing the
still,
show, I was waiting for someone to
Yeah.
just bite
oh, you
someone.
thought a zombie was gonna like, oh right, okay.
But obviously
Yeah.
it didn't happen that way.
No, yeah, I thought the same. I thought it would have been cool if they actually done, if you actually saw the full sort of Comic-Con
Yeah.
going ahead, and then you see the zombie outbreak happen. And it would have been funny, like you say, if someone was cosplaying as a zombie. Is that a zombie or is that someone cosplaying?
Yeah, exactly. That'd be a perfect way to do it.
Could be something that they think about in Volume 2 if they go back to the moment, if there's another COD and a zombie happens, could be giving
Maybe.
an idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm interested in what they say about Volume 2, like why they've given it Volume 1 for a reason, so there must be a Volume 2
Yeah.
planned at least.
Yeah.
Did you find this scary at any points? Was there any jump scares for you? Because
I
I've wrote down one. I thought I had two. I must have missed
wrote
one.
down
Down.
one.
I actually had two.
Yeah, I
There
think
was
I had two.
one moment which I think we all jumped, and then there was another bit towards the latter stages that I went, oh, it like there was one that I jumped more than the other one.
Yeah.
So I wrote down in my notes that there were two, but there was definitely one big jump scare that got me.
I'm guessing it's the same. My jump scare was when the zombie come from the ceiling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's exactly what got me.
I just
Yeah,
wasn't
in the
ready.
house.
Okay. Yeah.
Because obviously that's like the second zombie, I think. It's their neighbor, isn't it? And we're going into loose spoilers here, but basically a zombie jumps in through the roof, and I was just not ready for it at all. That was the first one. I was like, oh shit, you've actually really got me there.
I don't think this is that's the zombie who one of the characters' shirt gets nicked, and they said that they didn't like him. Is that the zombie that jumps through the ceiling? Yeah, and it was that zombie that I literally jumped. It wasn't just like a subtle sort of it was like got me really, really good.
Yeah.
I think because of like the lighting and that you just don't expect it because they're just chatting.
They were just chatting so casually about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he just
no, sorry, I was going to say the other jump scare that got me was, and I saw it coming, and it still got me. But when I don't know exactly where they are, but they're in sort of a gated area, and they find someone's like camera and backpack with a map and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they're watching it back on the camera, and then like I think it's Rocket. He like realizes like, wait, are they still here?
Yeah.
And then straight away like, and I knew it's gonna happen, but that still made me like jump. I was like, fuck, I knew that was gonna happen, and it still got me.
That's probably the second sort of bit that I forgot about that. Probably because again I could see it a mile away and it still put me jump. I also, if I could say one thing, so when I was watching, particularly the first half, I will confess that I thought, okay, this is a bit of a slow burn here.
Yeah, so that's fair.
I'm waiting for something to get going, and sometimes when the storm comes, it doesn't give you a payoff. So like the first half of the movie is a bit slow burner, but the second half doesn't really do anything to justify it. I actually think ZombieCon Vol.1 absolutely does that. Now when I think about it, the first half was slow as I was watching it, but as I got to the end of the second half, every bit of the first half then sort of made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I actually thought that they got the pacing bang on. It took me to the end of the movie to realise that, but I actually think that I'd be curious to see if they intended to do that, because I was sitting there going, I really hope that all of the little subtle bits that happen, there's a reason behind it and why we spent 45 minutes talking about those set things, which I'm not going to go too much into because I don't want it to spoil, but I actually think this movie has got a real lovely meaning to it. It's really quite moving and actually a little bit emotional towards its like the final stages. There was just something in the way that it gives you sort of reflections on life, which can't believe that a zombie horror movie has not moved me in the way that ZombieCon Vol.1. I'm curious to see if you guys felt the same. But
are you on about with the
flashback
sort of
kind of bits?
Yeah, the flashback bit with Rocket when he's sort of having those memories of all his friends. Yeah. I really like that.
And not only that, and then the bit that happens at the end, which then basically sets up Volume 2. Which again,
so
as I was like, okay, that's the reason why we're getting another one. But I wondered if you guys shared the same. And I actually think the movie gets a lot of praise and makes up for the slower start that we had in the opening 45 minutes.
I really like the like you say, the bit where Rocket is having those kind of flashbacks about his friends and thinking about his friend. I like that bit a lot.
Yeah.
I think the other bit you're referring to is the death at the end, and
Yep.
I personally didn't get moved by that, mainly because I didn't think we spent enough time with that character.
Okay, no, that's fair.
If they
I'd agree with
were
that.
more involved, then probably there's no reason why I wouldn't really, because it's a pivotal character in that person's life, I guess. But for me, she was like a now everyone knows it's a she, but yeah, she just wasn't fully involved with the film, and I get that she is
I
essentially the plot, but yeah.
I don't actually think that I found it moving because of liking that character, because I agree that we didn't get a lot of screen time. But I read it as that Rocket is having these life connections with his family and has sort of taken stuff for granted,
Yes.
including that person.
Yeah.
And when that set person is no longer there, I felt that it was a reminder of, oh my God, I've lost someone really special.
Yeah.
So it was just that moment for me that, like, I could be giving the movie way too much credit. Maybe I'm reading it in too deeply. But because we had the flashback moment and then that happened after, it was moving in the respect that all of my maybe gripe between the first sort of 40 minutes was gone, which doesn't always happen. I think if you're going to have a slow burn horror movie, which is what they've done, the second half has got to hit. And I think the second half of this movie definitely does hit, which is why I think over it works. It's got a clever brain in it. It's not just a zombie movie that is just people going from point A to point B and killing loads of zombies. That is there, and that's cool in of itself. But I think the movie's got a bit more maturity than maybe perhaps of what I thought it was going to be going into it.
I think that's fair. I think we should talk about the visual effects that we use, because obviously being an indie film with a much smaller budget, it's fair to say that I went into this assuming, but probably wrongly, some pretty poor visuals and like things that I was gonna be like, okay, I'm not believing this very much. I
Yeah, I
was
agree.
stunned. Like, I am genuinely
Yeah.
stunned, especially what I have to give them praise for is the blood.
Yeah,
I was
there was a lot of
amazed
blood
at
in
how
it.
good the blood looked
Yeah.
in this film. Like, can't wait to ask them about what they
Yeah.
use, how they did it, and made it look so good. And they were not scared to use it. Like, they were
No,
using
definitely
blood a
not.
lot. And I thought
The biggest
gone.
No, sorry, I say the biggest compliment that I would say is that the blood was sort of like on par with something you would see from like a Terrifier, which
Yeah,
is a massive budget.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between watching a bloody scene from like a Terrifier and this. The blood itself looks pretty much identical, which if they've done it for sort of peanuts, so to speak, if it's an Indian, they've got no budget, then that is seriously, seriously impressive. Even in the first sort of sequence where you get the blood for the first time, I was like, wow, okay, this is much more high class than what I anticipated it being. So yeah, I was, and as someone that just is an avid lover of blood in horror, I was like, give me more. And I love the moments where even when they were in those dark scenes, they gave even more blood. They were like, right, it's not as light as we can have it, so we'll just double the quantity of blood that we're having. And I thought it was used really, really well.
So I thought you was going to go
Yeah.
there, Andy.
No, yeah. I basically agree. I was surprised by, especially when they, like you say, with their cosplay outfits, they've got sort of samurai swords and different things like that. The way that the blood splatters when they're using those weapons onto the zombies or people. Yeah, it's crazy. It literally covered in blood. So I wasn't expecting that much sort of detail and visuals in this film. So it was good to see that in there, and it'll be interesting to find out exactly sort of how they done that when we talk to them. Because yeah, it was quite impressive for what the budget for this film probably is.
I think another way
Definitely not a PG movie.
Oh no, yeah, I don't know what the rating is actually. That's a good point.
No, I was thinking that'd be interesting to see what rating this would probably get, but I've got a fair hunch of like what it would be.
Yeah, I can't see that anywhere. I'm gonna find it, but another good way to kind of describe how good of a job they did on that side of things was the first one they kill, and I think it's Claire who's doing the stabbing, shall we say?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was like, shit. I was wincing. I was like, this is fucking brutal. Like, it felt realistic enough for me. Like, I expect that from a massive film that you see in the cinema, but for me to react like that to a film with this budget, we've got to keep coming back to it. the impressive thing about this film is what they've done with such a small budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
To be believable, and particularly, it's a zombie film. This isn't a film about four friends that go to Comic-Con and don't do much else. There's zombies in it, there's blood in it, there's gore in it, and they have to make that look as realistic as possible. And I personally think, I don't know how they could do it much better without a bigger budget, obviously. But even so, I think it's done a very, very good job.
And what they could do with a bigger budget as well. I mean, I thought actually, I didn't even look at the runtime. I thought it was going to be like a 90-minute movie. The fact that this movie is 10 minutes shy of 2 hours, and what they're able to do in that time, it's not like you see other like indie movies that, as you rightly say, they're in one set location. Because that's the easiest way. If I was going to like make a low budget horror movie, is you sell it in one scene and you be inventive in that, because it keeps your costs down. You know, they moved from 5 to 6 locations. You wouldn't know that this was a small budget indie movie unless somebody tells you in advance that it's a small low budget indie movie, and that again is a huge compliment to what they were able to achieve. I mean, unless they say, "Oh no, we had endless money," but it's not.
We've got about 10 minutes left because we obviously need to stop and then start the interview. We should probably talk about the performances. I actually thought they were pretty good. And I don't like to pick out one, but if I had to pick a favorite, I really liked Punky. Like, for some reason, her character just really sold her performance to me, but also I just liked her character as well. She seemed to be like the rock of the group. That's the way I describe her. Like, she was when Rocket was getting all in his feelings about what had happened. She was there to try and pull him through, and then kind of just called him out on his bullshit as well. Said, "Look, stop this. Like, come on, we're all here. We're all friends. Come on." And it kind of she had that kind of thing the whole way through. Not to say I didn't like the rest. I really liked Claire or Erin's performance. And I don't know if you noticed at the end of the film, if you watched through the credits, Rocket, when it had Rocket's name, the actor called Manny Luke, it said introducing. So
I saw that.
Might have been his very first ever film.
Oh, okay.
Which I thought was impressive, because I think the others have done like other little bits here and there. If that's his first film, I mean, he could have told me otherwise, because I was surprised by that.
Yeah.
No, his performance was good. I really liked it throughout. It sort of showed the he sort of changed throughout the movie. So at the start, he is sort of a bit more of an arsehole towards certain other characters.
So when he was being an arsehole, right? And
then
they said what why they zombies were turned to zombies. I was like, oh shit. When he was in the room and he was acting weird and going up to get water, I was like, oh no, man, he's gonna turn.
He did that at certain moments, and I was like, oh my god, but like I had the exact same sort of idea. It was only when we get to the end that then I was like, oh, okay, so they were sort of illustrating sort of what we got when we got to sort of the third act. I would say that, I mean, it is impressive that it's his, if that is his first ever performance, but it would also make sense why I thought that the supporting friends did a little bit better, and I enjoyed everyone's performance, but I thought, as you rightly said, I thought Claire, did you say the name was? And
Claire is the character name.
And then sorry, my brain's gone. The other one that you
Punky.
said as well, Punky. So Punky and Claire were like my two sort of favourites. Not to say that means that the others didn't do like so well, but I think that the movie would have been like even better if essentially Rocket is the star. I know that he is essentially by the end of the movie, but I think the other actors were so good that he doesn't get sometimes the limelight that maybe the movie want him to get, because his supporting friends do such a good job. But for a first role, it's solid.
I thought, like I said, I think throughout it shows sort of great character development with his character, the way he starts off, and then the way that it's ending with those flashback scenes that we've already spoken about. To go from that beginning to that end, I feel shows there was a lot of character build up. Overall, I thought all the performances were quite good. I preferred, sort of, if I was to pick one out as a sort of favourite, I think it would be Claire's for me. It was also interesting to see when I was looking at other films that Erin had been involved with, there was a couple of different sort of zombie movies there, or sort of horror type zombie movies. So it'd be interesting to sort of hear if I don't know what sort of role she played in those, but if they inspired anything in this movie or if they took anything from her previous experience. But yeah, I thought her performance was really good. And again, like you said with Punky, the way that she's sort of the glue that's keeping the group together, basically. Her pulling Rocket through in a lot of different situations, and just making sure they all stick together as sort of one and getting them through sort of the tougher moments in the film. All very good. Also thought he obviously didn't get a lot of screen time, but the main sort of villain, I guess, in this film was quite good as well. I can't remember.
Yeah, he was good.
He was ripped to shit. He was heavy.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I was amazed. I couldn't. I was like, fucking hell. What do I need?
So you look in the mirror, you go, that's exactly how I look. You know, it's nice to see somebody else look exactly how I am. He was. I mean, I hated him, but that's exactly what you want from the main villain of the movie. From the second he come on screen, I was like, oh, you're a knob, mate. But again, that's exactly kind of what you like. I think Claire reminded me of like the Final Girl horror performance, like, you know, the leading woman in a horror slasher that, you know, survives.
Yeah.
She gives me that sort of vibe. So it wouldn't surprise me if she's done that sort of, because even though she's one of the supporting characters, again, she has a massive part to play in a lot of what happens. So, and I got that very straight away. And I also would be curious to know, does she have influences? Because there was a couple of things in some of the deaths that she did that I was like, well, that reminded me of something from like Dawn of the Dead, and I can be interested what specific influences they took, because it wasn't just like one. It felt to me that there was a lot of different zombie horror movies, non-horror movies, other ones that they're looking at as sort of that inspiration. So it'd be interesting to see what exactly that was, or even if there wasn't any.
Yeah. Also, sorry, just to add, I enjoyed the way that this film ends the way it started, in terms of you've got their little cosplay competition and then a whole different kind of battle at the end, which also I won't go into details with. But I like the way that they started it that way and then ended that way. It sort of wrapped up the film and the plot nicely.
I think it's very well written. And it's solid. It's great to have a bit of front story that let me start again. Front story that wraps up with the backstory as well, and there were no gaps in it as well. It didn't feel out of place. There was no sort of pacing issues story wise, but you only feel that when you get to the end of the movie, which is a bit of a weird one.
We've got 5 minutes, so let's wrap it up. Let's all give a score out of 10, as we always do. I'll start, seeing as I watched it first and I've had time to think about it longer. I went into this expecting to give maybe a 6, just because of the budget and everything around it, and genuinely was so pleasantly surprised by this movie. And I should say, I'm not the zombie horror expert fan like Stephen is. Zombie films, I like Shaun of the Dead comedy, but typically, and I like Walking Dead, so I do like some zombie stuff. But typically, if a zombie film comes out, I'm not like rushing to go and see it. Although I had to go and see 28 years later, so I'm just chatting shit right now. But what I'm trying to say is, they're not typically my go-to movies. So I went into it with like lower expectations, but I was pleasantly surprised. I'm going to give this a 7.5, which is a very good score and beats a lot of horror movies that I've watched this year, by the way, from in the cinema, which is crazy to me. So very, very good film. I would definitely recommend it if you've got access to it. And yeah, Andy, what would you give it?
So sort of similar to you. Well, I guess I sort of went in with low expectations, obviously thinking about the budget that they had to make this film. But again, was sort of surprised by what they managed to do. The fact that it's relatable with the Comic-Con stuff. I usually enjoy a lot of the zombie movies that I've seen. I can't sort of think of one and pick out and think, oh, I didn't enjoy that. Whether it's fast paced. But things like World War Z, where with the fast zombies in particular, I sort of really like that. So with them having sort of the faster zombies in this as well. But no, I really enjoyed it. I really thought the story was sort of good and it wrapped up the movie nicely with the ending. So I've given it a similar score to you, just slightly lower. So I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Cool.
Which
Stephen?
Again is a very respectable score, considering things like I watched Strangers Chapter 2 recently, and that was absolutely terrible. Would not score the same as this.
Stephen, what would you give it?
I love hearing that when I'm going to watch that tomorrow. So thanks for that, Andy. So yeah, I went into it kind of on both your same thoughts. 6 out of 10. I was so pleasantly surprised by this movie, and I think it done a terrific job. So I'm gonna go with you, Welchy. 7.5 out of 10. I was wavering between 7.5 and 8, but I think 7.5 is where it sits nicely at, and much better than a lot of the horror movies that I've seen. As I said, 28 years later, this was so much better than 28 years later, and that is one of the highest compliments I can give because
Yeah.
this. I mean, this is so much better written than 28 Years Later. And it pains to say because how much I love Alex Garland, but like seriously, it's just so impressive. It's nice to see a horror movie that's actually got a brain. You know, it's not just doing things for show or for gore. It's got a thought process that actually tells a really good story. So yeah, 7.5 out of 10. Very, very good.
Excellent. Well, there you have it. My Alexa just went off. 2 7.5 out of 10 and 1 7 out of 10. That's going to be it for this review. It's been very fun. Before we go, Andy, where can people follow you?
So you can find me over on Twitch at Andy_Y_07, or also over on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at AB Collectibles or AB Collectibles24. Thank you very much.
And Stephen, where can people follow you?
Yeah, just on my TikTok at DJ Bagpuss, and on my YouTube channel of the same name. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for listening to this episode of the Late Night Movie Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please do give us a follow, leave a rating, and tell a friend about us, as it goes a long way. You can follow us on all social medias with the handle at the LNG Pod, and be sure to join our Discord community using the link in the podcast description. Next week, I have not changed my notes, so I'm going to quickly check what we're doing next week. Next week, we are doing our top movies from the 2010s, part 1. So between 2010 and 2014. Yes, and then after that, just for a bit of future reference, we're obviously in October. After that, we've got 2 back-to-back Halloween kind of special episodes, where we're going to be doing our favorite horror films against a list online, as we've done recently, and then an episode, a Mount Rushmore episode of the best horror characters / villains.
I love this time of year. I love this time of year so much.
Should be a lot of fun. Until then, I have been your host, Welchy, and my guests have been Andy.
Yeah, thank you as always, guys. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, being thrilled to talk about this movie.
And Stephen.
Yeah, been a pleasure as always, and can't wait to see some hopefully more good horror movies.
Thanks for listening, and we will see you in the interview.